People view on Andrew Tate? Story 1. When I first learned about him, I found his arguments agreeable. Paraphrased. Women aren't traditional anymore but want traditional guys. Guys are disposable mostly, unless they provide something. Etc. just off the top of my head. It made sense to me since I've had bad breakups, and my most recent one got me good, so I was sensitive to that kind of argument. Every guy has, which I think is why he was appealing to so many guys, with those kinds of arguments. Then he started getting whack with stuff like, women are meant to be controlled. Story 2. I like him because he lets me know I'm on the right path as far as the way I live my life, the way I am raising my children. It's pretty simple. If the way I'm doing things is the exact opposite of what he preaches, I know I'm doing it right. Story 3. Because there is a large chunk of men, and a minority of women, that feel left out and ignored by the rest of society, so they start by dipping their toes in these ideas until they fall further down the rabbit hole. Others are people that hold on to traditionalist values and don't want the world to progress the way it does, hence it becomes a community for them as well. And a few are just contrarian thinkers and are drawn to anything that seems edgy and unpopular, for the sake of it being edgy and unpopular. Story 4. I like his message about having to work on yourself in order to reach your goals. His message at first was just how masculinity isn't a bad trait, and you shouldn't be ashamed to want it. I like how he promotes martial arts and fitness, and when he allegedly got cancelled by social media, that made many people question why his thoughts in particular were deemed so controversial to warrant a ban, which for the most part were just old macho man views that most old folks would share. He is also not afraid to talk about the tricks that rich people like him use in order to not pay taxes and keep getting richer, which is a breath of fresh air and informative. He got rich by exploiting these young men, and before that by running a promotion agency for women who do chemsex work, taking a cut from their profit, which isn't that bad, is basically what most OnlyFans creators do nowadays, get an agency to help them promote their content for a cut of the profits. But this is not something most honest men would be willing to do to achieve financial success. Looking forward to see what comes out of these allegations. I hope they get him for a long time and he disappears for a while and some other content creator who shares his views on masculinity and fitness comes along without the additional baggage of being an idiot with too much money for his own good, sexist, and a scammer. TLDR, some of his points aren't bad, the person that voiced them is. Having said that, he also preyed on lonely young men and little kids who aspired to be like him by making them subscribe to his site BS, which was supposed to make them rich but is actually a pyramid scheme. They are encouraged to spam videos of him everywhere, and they are very vocal on YouTube comments section. It's a very scammy business model and many people fall for it. Also, his views on women are sexist and his view on men that don't aspire to be rich and famous is very idiotic as well. Basically, in his mind, you either aspire to be like him, or you are a lesser man. Story 5. I took one for the team and asked my coworker, who I have a work-friendly relationship with, why he supported Andrew Tate. Keeping in mind I'm slightly biased here, his points can be sorta summarized as thus. Coworker lives by traditional values that he feels are not acceptable in the dating scene anymore, and Tate gives voice to his thoughts on that manner. He likes people who liberals seem to hate because he feels personally wronged by liberal policies and people. He enjoys the lifestyle that Tate pushed online and wants to eventually live the same way. He only likes Tate for specific things and never once looked further than what I wanted to hear. He thinks that Tate being silenced is a violation of his rights to free speech. Small chuckle, he said. Third Amendment. I ended my investigation here, since lunch is only an hour and I need to hit up a vending machine real quick before my meetings. Story 6. I'd imagine it's because he's a self-made man that pretends not to take shit from people. I imagine single people slaving away at a shitty job all day look at him and think, look how successful and happy he is. He must have it all figured out. His ideology praises strength, bravery, and intuition. It bolsters self-confidence and self-worth, something many today lack. Unfortunately, his ideology is only skin deep and doesn't hold up to much scrutiny. His self-worth is hollow, and he raises up the wrong type of masculinity. Story 7. Alright, I'll bite. Probably gonna ruin all my karma, but who cares, it's just internet points. I'm drawn to Tate. Being a 23-year-old man, who grew up without a masculine influence and a mother who actively fought against masculinity, his hyper-masculinity and traditional values, be the real or fake, inspire me to look through my feelings and act. I grew up feeling wrong to be masculine, that it was wrong to want things, be that woman, winning or money. It was bad. I've learned through him that it's okay to want these things. It's okay to want to be a high-value man. Sometimes when I'm going through a really hard time with my mental health, a Tate clip discussing how we just need to get it done will really help. With that said, I'm old enough and smart enough to not want the life he lives. The man is 36, lives with his brother, can't hold a monogamous relationship, still craves cash and outside validation. His ideas on women are so far away from a secure man, he would like a woman who doesn't challenge him. I value intimate relationships, see women as people, not objects to be conquered. I'd like a sports car, but I accept that's who I am, and that drive is what makes me happy. If someone else doesn't, that's absolutely fine. Now, with all this stuff, I have been raised to question mainstream media. Tate, like many influencers these days, is an incredible marketer. This has bolstered his popularity yet again. If you can see into that, you'll see that this isn't actually the worst thing for him. If strong, real evidence comes out, yeah, you're right. He's done. Truthfully, people like Jordan Peterson are much better influences on young men. He's much more impartial and factual. Just my 2 cents. I do not support his pyramid scheming or trafficking. Story 8. Why not? I have mostly the same beliefs and view on the world as him. Besides all the cut up out of context misogynistic crap, he really explains the world as what it is. People at the top feeding information to people middle and below to keep you contained and keep being slaves in a 9-to-5 for them. The exact life I have longed to escape, even before Tate became known. He tells you to be accountable for your own actions, take control of your own life, and if you want something, go fucking get it. I don't understand how so many people find this line of thinking to be so horrible for so many people around the world, when for me that has been the only way to think that has improved my life. I could either go about life believing depression is a thing that no matter what I do I will always feel like shit and nothing will change that, or I can believe that I can be responsible for how I feel and take steps towards changing what is wrong with my life. I understand he has said some things that I don't agree with, and he most certainly isn't perfect, as none of us are, but he preaches some very good and true life values. Story 9. I do overall like Andrew Tate. I think he is pretty funny and insightful in some regards, and I sincerely hope his criminal allegations turn out to be false, because I would be really disappointed in him if he actually coerced those women into doing erotic content. With that out of the way, I have to acknowledge the fact that I consider myself more traditional than average, and that I do agree with some of the points he makes regarding the differences between men and women that the feminist movement pretends don't exist. As he puts it, men and women are different and complementary, and each has strengths and weaknesses that the other lacks. His general critique is focused on the societal deviation from that axiom of differences and by extension from traditional norms. He goes on to critique how Western society is progressively being feminized in detriment of men and masculine ideals and attitudes as a whole, empowerment of the feminine and belittling of the masculine. While I am traditional, I do consider myself a feminist in that I do believe women deserve respect, equality of opportunity, and the freedom to live life as they see fit while adhering to the consequences of their choices, without blaming some anachronistic terms such as the patriarchy. Andrew Tate and the likes from the Red Pill do bring to light some issues that if the feminist movement was truly about equality, rather than trying to place women and their preferences above men's, it would acknowledge that both men and women, and not just women, suffer based on their gender. For example, 1. For the same crime, men are more likely to go to prison and have longer jail sentences. 2. Most dangerous low-status jobs are done by men. 3. Men are more likely to commit and succeed in suicide. 4. Most homeless people are men, etc., and the list goes on. Overall, I think some of the things he says are eye-opening if you are willing to listen. Some other stuff he says is over the top, and I do not enjoy his narcissistic, arrogant demeanor.